Welcome to the Industries at Work Leaders Edge podcast. I'm Sandy Laycox, Editor-in-Chief of Leaders Edge. In a brief departure from our COVID-19 series, this episode features an in-depth conversation with George Kucera, Vice President of Product Management and Strategy for Patra. Patra has been providing process automation, account management, and other technology-based services to the insurance community for 15 years. And George has an extensive background in Silicon Valley-based high-tech enterprise software. This all comes together for a discussion of digitization in a philosophically conservative industry, the tech hype cycle and where blockchain falls, what Patra has been up to lately, and what a home run looks like for the company and its clients. The Council's Market Intelligence Director, Rob Boyce, is here with George for this insightful conversation. Give it a listen.
Good afternoon, George. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So to start off with a high-level question, and given your experience outside of the insurance industry and product management for enterprise software, what are a few specific technologies or processes that are currently making its way into the industry?
Well, let's see. The insurance industry is basically leveraging the technology that I've seen go through other industries. I've done a lot with financial services over my career, and the insurance industry is really starting to take hold of process automation, a lot of OCR, because there's a lot of documents involved, a lot of things that move processes effectively with technology. We're starting to see some robotic process automation and other AI implementations help out. Really, the insurance industry is just like any other industry. There's nothing different about it, except for there's a lot of people and relationships. And so it's sort of a conservative industry. They've made investments over the years, 70s mainframe, 90s PC, and they're a little bit slow and conservative when it goes to the digital age. But we're seeing that transition happen, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Great. So why do you think that is? The industry has been a little slow to adopt, and given the relation-based aspect of our business, what technologies and processes do you think will have the most benefit to brokers, and then what about the consumer?
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to say in enterprise software, it's normal to have sort of a bell curve of early adopters, the tech geeks that grab the first thing, and then they're on what we call the bleeding edge of technology adoption. And then on the other extreme, there's the laggards, the people that won't move until something's absolutely like turnkey and proven. And insurance is a little bit in the middle, but it's on the conservative side of the bell curve. And that is the reason why is because insurance, it's pretty much worked. Insurance is conservative. You can look at the whole financial model. It's all about hedging against risk, right? So insurance industry tends to do things in a very careful and regimented way. Things are planned out. Things are orchestrated in a way that, it's going to not cause any harm. That's their primary concern. And so it makes sense for the industry to adopt more slowly than other industries, if I look at it. But the technologies that are, like I said, it's about process and automation. There's a lot of people interaction. There's a lot of complex processes with insurance. The technology that's going to be most helpful is technology that helps, first of all, automate the process so that things move streamly, and then digitizing sort of everything. And I don't mean it's going to happen all at once, but as you digitize things, you can get information and start doing things like data science more effectively. You can produce and compare documents for policy checking, for example, or for any kind of risk tracking for all the policies. For example, a holder, making sure that everyone's got the right level of insurance. What's called cert tracking, right? All these things can be automated as you digitize, and it's that digitization process that's going to take a while in the industry.
Right. Well, taking that into account, and given COVID-19 and worldwide work from home trends, do you think our current situation could be in a way a forced catalyst for tech adoption, meaning brokers and carriers alike will be more forced to utilize tools that were previously optional?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. COVID, and then the government reaction to COVID, and the business reaction to COVID has all basically converged to say, hey, you know what? Things can happen that surprise you, and process can be disrupted. The human interaction that used to be face-to-face or through some other process that was more, close interaction now has to be remote. People are using remote teleconferencing now. Things are being either mailed, emailed, or otherwise. So it's definitely causing a disruption in the way things were done.
So when it comes to product development at Patra, how has the current economic and political climate impacted Patra and its products? Could you argue that potentially the pandemic has been good for a business in increasing, your clients' digital capabilities? And are there any new products or services being explored due to the current situation?
Well, we're obviously, I mean, everyone was in the industry was impacted by COVID, and specifically, again, the lockdowns and and the people being forced to work from home, offices shut down, especially for BPO. And we have a large BPO component of what we do. India, China, everywhere was impacted. So absolutely, our business was impacted. We're now at, more of the capacity that we had at that time. And we're more resilient because of that. And I think insurance companies are looking for more resilience in their processes as well. And they're also looking for us to make sure that we help them manage some of this, I call it geodiversity risk with service delivery. But again, I don't see it as like Patra is going to exploit this situation or our peers are going to exploit this situation or anything like that. I see it as it'll move certain things faster than they otherwise would have been moved. And what we're doing in several areas is probably going to be beneficial for clients as they want to diversify hedge against this risk.
Right. So when looking at Patra's business process outsourcing services, also known as BPO, as you mentioned, how do you measure efficiency regarding a product and measuring the value it brings for the client?
That's a great question. Ultimately, how we want to measure efficiency is to literally go to have a conversation with our clients about, let's look at your cost of goods sold, and let's look at these various things, these steps in your process, or these things, let's just call them tasks that need to be done for your clients as part of your cost of goods sold and your operational cost. And let's look at that. If policy checking is 1.2% of your cost of revenue, maybe we can help you improve the quality, first of all, to your customer, which is primarily what we're trying to do, but also help you erase some of the costs from that and maybe drop it down a couple basis points while we're improving the quality and reducing the risk for you. So that's the way we want to operate. We're not there yet. The way we look at it now is human process automation. How fast is the input and output being done? How much is quality improving over time? And then how much are we improving the value to our customers by delivering them more information about what's going on with their business than they were getting before us. So those are the metrics I'm looking at to deliver more value and ultimately help reduce cost as well.
Right. So going off that, insurance is heavily focused on legacy systems, agency management systems, faxes, PDFs, you name it, that ultimately fail to capture much of the data that will allow brokers to save time and increase efficiency. Are there any particular products that Patra is working on that will provide value to all insurance constituents?
Yeah, there are. One of the things we're doing is we're literally about to launch CertVault, and CertVault is essentially digitizing the certificate delivery process. So this will help holders, brokers, insureds, possibly even carriers. As right now, print and mail is very expensive. Again, there's more process risk for things not being delivered. Print and mail and even email doesn't have any kind of validation that the cert has been received by the holders or even the insureds. And the insureds and the brokers cannot go into any system now and see, okay, here's all my certs, here's who's received them, validated reception of the certs. Oh, I'm going to resend this cert to this holder. All that right now is very manual, very expensive. And CertVault essentially is a digital cert delivery mechanism.
Going further, does this impact the policyholders and more importantly the brokers from an E&O perspective, with being able to capture more accurate data in the system?
Yeah, it does. I mean, the E&O risk is often for CertVault. The E&O risk is not so much about the cert delivery per se, but it's about having timely access to the cert, making sure that cert was properly formed and all that. And by being able to see instantaneously what was sent without having to wait for something to be printed or hope you have the same thing that was sent for example, to the holder and insured, you can instantaneously see, hey, this is what they got. The insured can see this is what I got. Everyone's on the same page as to, it's all in one system. And so, if there is an issue, you can see it right away, fix it right away. And we use blockchain technology to make sure that there's been no tampering, to make sure that the cert is, authentic. And this is the actual version you're talking about. It also keeps everything secure and encrypted. So yeah, I think that provides tremendous benefit.
As you mentioned, this is the early stages for CertVault, and in the previous call, you mentioned, being able to build significantly to the current product. So could you give us a little insight on what the product looks like now versus how you envision it looking in, let's say, 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. Like right now, like I said, we process an awful lot of certs. I mean, we have 60% of the top 100 brokers are our customers, right? And for many of them, we process some of them very large quantities of certs. CertVault is a single source where you can log in, and in fact, as an agency, excuse me, you can log in and see all the certs that have been sent to who. You can see them by client, by holder, who's been sent what, who's received what, and who's, basically who's opened it. And so you have validation of reception of the cert, right? In the future, what we want to do is we want to improve that and even have push notifications to say, holder X has received your cert for this insured. We want to right now it already works on mobile and desktop, but we want to improve that capability and start partnering with different industries so that you can literally have very quick validation that someone coming onto a job site, for example, has authorization to work there. And if brokers can offer this kind of functionality, they know the insured is going to get the benefit of being able to say, yes, we can guarantee your holders, you can prove to your holder you have this cert in real time. That'll be powerful, and that's the direction we want to go.
Absolutely. So moving forward, big picture is what else is Patra working on that's truly unique to the market for brokers? Something that isn't being done yet. And could you provide kind of an example through the broker lens on the process and what these products might look like?
What we're trying to do is lead our clients to the future of insurance. So we talk to a lot of customers. We process a lot of work. For example, we do a lot of work on a premium payment, and we know there's 30 to 50 touch points to get a policy or to get a premium paid. And so we see it ourselves. Our customers tell us what they'd like, and what we've developed is a solution for premium payment automation. And it's not launched yet, but it'll be launched in the near future. We are basically providing a solution for automating the whole premium payment for customers, for brokers, right? And then that'll include finance options for finance, or just you can just take the payment ACH or whatever. But the whole thing is to avoid the whole manual process and human touch points, and just do everything through this digitized format, and have a record for everyone that's authentic.
Very interesting. So I guess this would be a kind of a B2B to C approach.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And right now we're already working with national partners. So it's a premium finance vendor to get this out into the market. So literally right now, you could approach national partners and get on Patra Pay and take advantage of this right now if you want to use their premium finance option as the payment method. We're expanding the whole solution out to brokers very soon.
So what technologies in this, what technologies specifically will you be utilizing to make this happen? And kind of how will that journey look for the broker?
Oh, for the broker? Yeah, so the broker, well, I mean, in the future, I mean, very soon, like in the next, it's not gonna be too far in the future, we're gonna offer a solution for brokers to literally say, we have a portal for making your premium payments, and the broker will be able to decide, maybe there's some finance partners that they align with, and they're integrated into the system. So someone can come in, make their payments online, and by the way, you can sign the whole, all the policy and everything online, and then make your payments. And then when you make your payments, it's done. You get it, everyone's confirmed. You get a wet signature. If you need to, we can support that, but you can often do everything. You can often do everything through the system.
Very interesting. And so we did mention a couple, buzzwords, blockchain being one of them. Can you elaborate on kind of the value that blockchain could bring to the industry down the road, and maybe why you think it was, so hyped up 2-3 years ago, and people aren't really talking about it today.
Yeah, that's Gardner created this thing called the technology hype cycle, where at first something gets a lot of traction, everyone's excited about it, and then it gets into the trough of disillusionment where the interest drops way off, and then the real application for the technology starts to take hold, right? In other words, what was promised at the beginning starts to, baby steps and starts to actually produce real value. And so I'm not saying blockchain doesn't have some real value. It obviously does for cryptocurrency, but and there's some other applications that it makes sense for, but just slapping blockchain on the hood doesn't make something magically good. And I didn't mean to use the term that way. We are using blockchain. It's a form of secure encryption. And what it allows you to do is you can also do things like have transaction history or any kind of change or update history with blockchain. And that's something we can see in the future. We're not leveraging today. So today, blockchain is literally just we have a third party authentication source to make sure they say this cert is an authentic cert. This was not forged or altered in any way. It is an authentic. That's all we're using the blockchain for today. In the future, we could possibly update policies and show you this policy was updated at this time and include that all in the blockchain history for you. We're not doing that today.
Well, are there any other, more futuristic, forward-looking technologies that might be, even further down the road that you think is really interesting that might make its way into the insurance industry that, some of our listeners may not have even thought of or heard about yet?
Well, I'm pretty new to the industry, so I don't think I'm going to be able to come up with some cool ideas. I am not new to technology. In fact, I've done a lot with data science and AI in the past at PagerDuty and some other companies. But I will tell you that the innovations we're looking at investing in, first of all, OCR is sort of table stakes if you want to do anything effective, with documents and automating the, analysis of documents. So, and then you can do things like you can do information to help you understand, like NLP or natural language processing, and start to look at patterns or be able to explore and see holes perhaps in things that you don't want to have. It can expose risk. By pulling a lot of data into one place, you can do all sorts of analysis on the data. And, sort of like actuaries do in insurance today. Well, imagine doing that across all the policies you're issuing and the characteristics of them and all that. So we see a lot of change that's going to happen. It's just not going to happen overnight. Getting these solutions right is going to take some time, and adoption is going to be something that, sort of slows it down a little bit. But we're working on things for process automation, for AI, and for being able to basically do analysis more effectively, that avoids most of the human error. And the idea isn't that humans can't do things, or that the machines can make humans more effective. It's a tool. So that's the way we see it. And so we want to make the humans more effective at seeing what's going on.
Absolutely. So you mentioned, capturing data. Could you provide some examples of the specific, data points or data sets that Patra is able to capture, particularly, with something like Cert Vault that they could utilize, and some, examples of the value they could bring to their clients?
Oh yeah, we can do. If we could talk about this a whole show if you want. But for Cert Vault, for example, we get the cert information into Cert Vault. So if the certs are in Cert Vault, they're not just stored, in a PDF way. We can look at the information on those certs, and we can show you information that's, your information. We keep your information secure, but we can show you information about the policies you're issuing. We can show you, who's viewing what. There's a lot of information we can show. We can help you provide more information to your insured about their policies, about the gaps potentially in their policies, and those kind of things compared to their peers. For example, if we say your peers for this kind of thing have a different policy than you do, you should be aware of this. That's a value add to the brokers. They can say, hey, I'm seeing that your policy is not quite the same as some of the other policies. And we can do this all by keeping information anonymous and everything. There's a lot that can be done there, but there's just enough going on with E&O risk. And for example, brokers, sometimes insureds create a policy, get a assert, and then cancel the policy. Well, who's responsible for ultimately knowing that policy is up to date? Well, there's some debate there, but it would be nice if the brokers knew that the certs that they've issued actually are validated and made sure they're active, so they don't get hassled downstream by some claim that comes through that the insured's not covered for. So being able to show all this risk, being able to show the exposure areas for things that aren't equally insured, and to be able to reduce just simply the errors is part of what we're looking at to do just with respect to CertVault. When it comes to BPO processing, there's a lot we can do. If we're processing a lot of things for you, we can give you reports on the changes in the behavior of what's going on. We can see what's happening. People are getting more insurance. People are getting less insurance. People are changing from this type of risk to that type of risk. All that information we can start to provide for you, and we want to start capturing that information for you and providing that to you.
Yeah, that's definitely a need there. And you mentioned data security, and that is a huge priority for Patra right now. And given the current situation and people working from home and becoming more vulnerable to cyber threats and ransomware, where does Patra stand? What are you currently working on to ensure that your clients' data is safe and secure?
We have increasing level. We do security audits internally all the time. Obviously, we're SOC 2 compliant. There are several parts to our process that are really important. There's making sure that the timely work that needs to be done, well, all work's timely, but some work is mission critical to be timely. We'll make sure, especially in EB, for example, but we make sure that timely work that needs to get done is done and then not dropped, right? Second, we do a lot of QA and internal auditing to make sure that we have very few and almost no errors. And then third, we make sure we have steps in place to catch those errors and remediate those errors as quickly as we can. We're not perfect, but we're pretty good. And we're getting better all the time. And in fact, over this next few months, we're going to be investing in some more technology that's going to help make sure we have end-to-end visibility into all the work that's going on in terms of the process and making sure that everything is QA'd to the right level.
Absolutely. So would you say that you have seen the current pandemic and kind of this shift from the traditional norms and working place? Have you seen an impact on not only from the cyber criminal space, but also from how people are using technology differently? Do you think this will have long-term impacts?
Well, people are definitely going to be using technology differently, and there's always people out there that want to exploit the situation. I mentioned sometimes insureds exploit the system because the certificate of insurances are just point-in-time snapshots of coverage. They're not proof of actual coverage, right? And I know most insureds don't do that, but some do. And those kind of risks, yes, we can provide more visibility that's more timely. The key is timeliness, right? It's not just risk, it's how long you're exposed to that risk. So again, if something's a paper process that's moving slowly, it's going to take you a lot longer to identify that risk than if something's digital and in real time you could check the status of it, or it can be updated automatically with you being notified. So obviously keeping things secure is table stakes, but on top of that, monitoring for changes and keeping track of changes is going to be a huge thing to reduce the exposure for that kind of risk.
Absolutely. So to end on kind of a big picture question, when we last spoke, you ended the conversation by asking me what a home run looks like in any form or capacity. And I thought it was a great question. So I'd like to turn it to you and ask, regarding your current projects and product development at Patra, what does a home run look like for you, and how do you measure that? Over the next 2 to 3 years, what would you define as a home run?
Yeah, so when I look at Patra as a business, and I see that there's 2 parts to Patra. There's the Patra One, which is all the technology and that supports the BPO, and the BPO is ultimately our product, and that's the level I operate at. So we do a lot of services for a lot of customers, and the evolutionary change that we can, that like it's important that we keep evolving there and keep getting better, right? And so I see that doing that, you could say it's table stakes, but you can do that with a lawn, right? You can do that well. Mm-hmm. So we want to provide more value to our customers, become a business partner for our customers, provide them insight insight they don't have today, just with the business process automation and the information that we have at our fingertips by doing work for our customers, right? So I call that like a home run, and that is our customers are seeing us more and more as partners, helping them run their business better rather than, just outsourcing. And then the second thing is what I call Patra Cloud, and that's the technology solutions that you can either, buy or get as part of our service, but that are separate technologies. And I mentioned CertVault and PatraPay. There's others we're exploring, and solutions that can really be needle movers. They're revolutionary changes. They're completely changing. We think print and mail for cert delivery is going away, even though 60% of certs are print and mail today. And that's just a huge waste. And so we want to help that change. We think that's a huge change. I mean, that's a huge shift for the industry. But a home run in this area is really fundamentally changing the way business is done. There's huge time gaps between certain steps and processes. I already talked about payment, right? Things that can happen, you can shorten those cycle times, those transaction times significantly with you and your customers. You can get more time selling and interacting with your customers as brokers. I consider it a home run. If we're giving you time back, stuff's getting done, technology's helping you do your work faster so that you can spend more time FaceTime with real people. I consider that a home run.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to put it. And it sounds like you have some very, very interesting things on the horizon, some that they're rolling out right now, and some that we'll likely see in the coming weeks or months. So I really appreciate you giving us that download, and we really look forward to watching you roll out these products. I know it's an exciting time for Patra.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much, Rob.
That was the Council's Rob Boyce with George Kucera, Vice President of Product Management and Strategy for Patra. Check out the companion conversation with Patra's President and CEO John Simpson and the Council's President and CEO Ken Carrar coming up in the September issue of Leaders Edge magazine. Thanks for listening.